Hi, I'm DraftKings analyst Geoff Ulrich, and this is the DK TV lineup review for Week 10 of the NFL season. If you're new to the lineup review, we're going to look at the Week 10 winners lineup from the Millionaire Maker tournament on DraftKings this week. We're also going to look at the big 5K winners lineup from the Thunderdome tournament as well. We're going to see what ideas and strategies we can take from these lineups to help us build better lineups in the future. So, the Millionaire Maker winner for Week 10 of the NFL season, T. Luia. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but there's a couple interesting points about his lineup right off the bat. He used Kirk Cousins at quarterback, but he didn't pair him with any Redskins wide receivers, so that was kind of interesting. He used an RB in the flex, so that means he used 3 running backs instead of using 4 wide receivers, which I thought was interesting too. He paid up a tight end with Rob Gronkowski, and he paid up a running back with Adrian Peterson too, and then he used sort of mid-tier value plays at wide receiver with Kamar Aiken, Martavis Bryant, and Allen Robinson. So there's some interesting points about the lineup right off the bat. What I liked about it, the first thing, he used running backs that were all either headed for big volume or they were involved in the passing game. So Jacondrick West, Jeremy Langford, they're backups who took on a lot bigger role with injuries to their sort of star players. They don't really have any competition for carries right now, and I really like that. Volume's really important for running backs. They accumulate points slower than wide receivers on DraftKings because they're not getting those 1 points per reception. So it's really important that when you're targeting a running back, making sure he's got that volume, it's really crucial. There's less big run plays in the NFL. It's more of a passing league. So the running backs are going to accumulate points a little bit slower. Making sure you get that big volume from your running back, it's really important. And I really like the players he targeted in that respect. More passes from running backs are important too. Both of these running backs, West and Langford, they're involved in the pass game in their respective offenses. More passes means that your running back's going to be less susceptible to game flow, which I really like. The winner basically ignored some of the matchups. You know, Langford and West didn't really have great matchups, but they were getting good volume, and I think for that reason alone, they were really good plays this week. Adrian Peterson might have been the riskiest play of the bunch in a lot of ways. He's not super involved in the pass game, but he does have a big workload, and obviously he's got a really high upside. He's still a great running back. So I really like his running back picks this week. He used wide receivers and tight ends with really good red zone targeting too, and really good touchdown conversion rates. Rob Gronkowski, second in the league with 17 red zone targets. He's got 5 touchdowns just off those red zone targets alone. He's getting lots of opportunities near the goal line, which is great. Allen Robinson, 12 red zone targets. He's got a really good conversion rate down there too, 6 touchdowns. And Martavis Bryant, 4 games played only this year, but 9 red zone targets and 3 touchdowns in those targets. So why do we want to target receivers with high red zone usage? Well, touchdowns means a lot of fantasy points, and that means a lot of upside for our fantasy players. And if you're looking for players with big ceilings, looking for players who get a lot of red zone targets is a really good way to go about identifying those players with good upside. So he also used a cheap QB with a really good matchup. Kirk Cousins, very non-expensive this week, very affordable. The scoring spread between QBs isn't that high every week, and I think saving space at QB and paying up for more reliable options at other positions is a really good way to go about creating lineups. Cheap QBs can have big days in the right matchups, and we saw Cousins at home versus the Saints, who've given up a ton of fantasy points the last couple weeks to quarterbacks. He had a really big day. I really like the strategy point there with saving money at quarterback, paying up at other positions. So I really like those 3 points about his lineup the most. Looking at the Thunderdome lineup now, this was won by a player, Super M123. He again used high efficiency red zone targets, Rob Gronkowski, Allen Robinson. I really like those picks. I think Rob Gronkowski in particular this week was a little bit overlooked. He wasn't as high owned. He's got a lot of upside obviously every week, so getting him at a little bit lower ownership percentage was a good play by him. He filled out his wide receiver spots with more value plays. He targeted games with some high point totals. Devontae Adams, Brandon LaFell, both in good offenses. Both starting to see more targets and work over the past couple weeks, so he was sort of following the trend there, which I like. He also paid up for Adrian Peterson, which I think was good based on his volume as we discussed earlier. He's obviously still got a lot of upside. I wasn't as big a fan of his Doug Martin pick at running back. Martin's splitting work with Charles Sims, and there was a lot of RBs priced below Martin this week that had better workload, like West, like Langford. I think there were better value picks, but it still worked out for him, so can't be too critical. He did nail his value picks. I thought Devontae Adams and Crockett Gilmore were really well thought out. So just in closing, let's review the 3 main strategy points from this week. The first, targeting RBs with high workload and who have good involvement in the pass game. That's really important. It's going to lead to better upside and more reliable fantasy plays. Targeting wide receivers and tight ends with good red zone targeting for tournaments is really important. It's going to lead to higher upside plays and some more bigger fantasy days for your rosters. And then targeting cheap QBs with good matchups, it's also a really good way to start your rosters, and it's a good way to save money and spend up at other positions as well. Make sure you subscribe to DKTV and check out the Monday Night Sweat Show as well after you watch this video. We have potential millionaire makers on Monday night as the Monday Night Football game is going on. It's great entertainment, crowning $1 million winner every week, which is really cool. My name's Geoff Ulrich. You can find me on Twitter as @TheFantasyGrind. Thanks a lot for tuning in, guys. Good luck in Week 11, and we will talk to you next week.